system is, other than your brain and nervous system, the most important system in your body. It regulates so many things, which you're going to learn about tonight. You don't just think of it as your stomach or your lower digestive system. It really regulates many of the major functions in your body. And we're going to go through why so many people have problems with their digestive system, whether they think of it as a gut problem or not, but it actually pours over into other areas of your life and your vitality. And what are the many lifestyle stresses that's actually creating this problem? Why is it such a huge issue that just continues to compound? And why the traditional medical approach is not fixing it. In fact, it's making it worse. And we'll go through the natural drug-free approach to where you can get your body back, healing itself naturally the way it was designed. Because that's what we're all about. How do we get your body functioning at its best and empower you to live the healthiest life naturally? So we're going to go through all that today. And you're going to leave here with action steps, resources, everything you need to know to have amazing gut health. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. So how many of you actually got the LRQ link and filled it out? Okay, so close to half the room. That's great. So we're not going to go through all of that today. Here is the QR code. Does everyone know how a QR code works? You put your camera up to it and it brings up a link. So if you didn't have a chance to fill it out or you haven't filled it out before in our office, make sure you take a quick picture of this. Don't fill it out during the event tonight. I want you to spend the next 10 minutes looking down at your phone, but save it there so you can do it at a later time. Because we actually get those back and it'll give you a report which areas of the 5 essentials that you're not doing as well as you could be doing in. Right, so it gives you a life risk questionnaire. So these are the areas where you're doing well. These are the areas where maybe we can put a little more focus. That's going to help you. And then it actually gives you some recommendations based upon our 5 essentials coaching that we do here in the office on ways that you can be able to improve that. And we're going to go through all those things tonight. So if you did take it and you had a chance to review it, this is going to be very interactive for you because you already know which of those areas you want to work on, and you'll be able to take that away from today. As we started, the reason why we do talks like this is because our goal and mission is to educate more and more people on how to live a healthy life. I find, and you probably noticed too, that most people don't know this information. They know very little about how the body works. They know very little about what to eat, what to avoid, and what to do when they have a problem, and they end up just doing the things that they've always thought. If you have an upset stomach, you take Tums or an antacid. If you have something going on with your lower area, you take Pepto-Bismol, or you take an anti-diarrhea pill, or you do something like this to treat this symptom. Right? Very, very common. If you have an inflammatory issue, maybe you avoid certain types of foods or follow a specific diet that helps not create that problem be worse, but it's not really fixing what's going on. Right? We want to give you some more enlightenment to where actually you feel empowered to take care of your own health. You know what to do, right? You can be the doctor for yourself and have a better idea of how to take care of yourself. That's the whole purpose of doing things like this. And when we look at the gut, we're not just talking about 1 or 2 systems. Your gut is a very diverse system, all the way from your mouth, all the way out the end. So from the beginning to the end, that's actually the gut. So even from the first time you see or smell food, the digestion process is already starting due to these salivary glands that are in your mouth. You have salivary amylase. So as soon as you start chewing food or see it or smell it, that like watery type feeling you get in your mouth when something delicious or delectable comes up, right? That's what's happening. Your brain's already turning on the signals of, oh, I'm going to eat some food, so I better start the digestion process. So it releases this salivary amylase, and it actually starts breaking down the food in your mouth while you're eating it, which is why it's important to chew your food. And they say that you should almost chew your food to the point where it's liquid, so that way you're not just swallowing these big old chunks of food because you're already interfering with the digestion process. So once you chew it and it starts going down, it goes down to the esophagus and goes down into the stomach. So the stomach has a very powerful acid that actually breaks down the food. Acid's so powerful that if you put it on your skin, it would burn you. It's literally acid. And so your stomach has this special lining that actually is protected against acid, so there's no problems with that. But when you have too much acid or not enough, well, sometimes that can go into other parts of your digestive system, up into the esophagus. This would be what you would get like heartburn or GERD or some of these other issues. And it actually burns the esophagus because that skin is not meant to have stomach acid in it, so it causes damage. Or you get things like ulcers, where the stomach acid gets way too much and it starts pouring over into the lower system and it cuts holes in your digestive system. And there's all kinds of reasons why this happens too. Then it goes down into the small intestine. So this little area here, which is really, really long, like 30, 40 feet long. And it's all wrapped up right in here. And this further breaks down the food with digestive enzymes, slowly through what's called peristalsis, moving the food through as it's breaking it down further and further. It's starting to absorb some of the nutrients. And then it finally gets into this large intestine here. And that's when you absorb water, and this is getting closer to where your actual bowel, your very lower portion is. And then it gets right down into this area, which is actually where most of the magic stuff happens. This is where your microbiome lives. And then that's what further breaks it down and ferments these things and gets it to where it points where you use all the good stuff, and everything that's not being used goes out as the final product. So that's the process of digestion. Pretty interesting, right? And you want everything all the way along the line to be working properly. And what happens is we tend to treat the effects. If the stomach's not working well, we look at the stomach. If I'm having a lower problem, diarrhea, constipation, well, maybe I look at that area. Or you get IBS or indigestion or inflammatory issue, well, I'm going to pay attention to that, right? But you're not really looking at the whole system, which is typically the medical approach we've been taught. Treat the symptom, manage the effects, versus identify cause, correct the interference, restore normal function, and get everything working better. So why is it important to have a healthy gut, right? What are some of the benefits of your digestive system? Let's look into this here, if I can get this working. Battery dead. So we look here at the absorption of nutrients. So you eat healthy food, you try to make smart decisions, you take certain types of supplements, right? It's great to do those things, but if your body's not absorbing the food because any one of those processes we just talked about isn't working properly, well, then you're not absorbing those nutrients. And I find this a lot with people, is they try to do healthy things, but they're not absorbing the nutrients because their microbiome is weakened. They don't have digestive enzymes anymore because they always eat cooked and processed foods. They don't have that stuff in there. Their microbiome has been killed by many things we'll talk about. So the food doesn't actually break down. So when the food doesn't break down, then you don't absorb any of the nutrients. So it's very, very important we're breaking down these foods so that way the nutrients come in. The next thing is the brain-gut connection. So most people don't know, but most of the chemicals and hormones in your body, including many of the ones of your brain that regulate mood and energy and focus and sleep, well, they actually all come from your gut, right? It produces your GABA hormones, it produces your sex hormones. It produces many vitamins that are essential in your body, especially B vitamins and K2. It's all created in your gut. Amino acids, all these things. So if the gut's not working, well, your body's not producing these vitamins that you need that are essential for healthy function. So it's key that we get this working, because a lot of times people will have a gut problem, but it actually comes out as a focus problem, or as brain fog, or as poor sleep or poor energy, or it comes off in children as hyperactivity or ADHD or other types of problems, or maybe it can come off as depression or anxiety or other stress disorders that many times are treated medically or diagnosed separately when it's really actually a gut dysbiosis that's causing it. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of that and we're fixing some of those things with that time. We also look at how gut affects immunity. So your immune system, 70% is regulated by your gut, at least that amount. And we have more little gut bacteria than actually cells in our body. So again, if your gut is weakened, your immune system isn't going to be as strong. So everyone's worried about, well, how do I not get sick? How do I avoid getting the flu or COVID or any other thing? Well, build up your gut. Build up your own immune system. And we all have a strong defense network that's designed to fight off infection and disease, whether it's a virus or a bacteria or a pathogen or cancer or whatever else it may be. Well, that's all regulated by your body's immune system. And a huge portion of immune function comes from the gut. So if your gut is compromised, your immune system is compromised. Right? So instead of what's the pill or supplement I can take for my immune system, or how do I protect myself from illness, living in fear, well, how do we think about how do I build up my system so it's stronger, so that I feel confident my body is capable of fighting off whatever I come in contact with? That's empowerment. Right? That's what we want to work on. That all comes from the gut. So how do we know if we have a problem with your gut? Well, let's take a look at a few of the common, would be considered disease processes that are associated with gut dysbiosis. Well, a lot of things are autoimmune disorders. How do you even get an autoimmune disorder? Most people don't know this. They think it's like, well, it's just bad luck, or it's just my body has some kind of faulty wiring, or it's my genetics. Well, really, that's not true. We know that most health issues, over 95%, are not genetics. They're not family history. It has nothing to do with luck or who you are. It has everything to do with lifestyle and the environment that you're in, how your body's functioning and adapting to these things. So when we look at what causes an autoimmune disorder, it's when things get in the bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there. So when you eat something, it should never encounter your bloodstream from your mouth to the end. But if you have ulcers, if you have leaky gut problems, if you have gut dysbiosis, well, these things now will filter into your bloodstream and your body sees them as foreign invaders, so it will start to attack it. That's just the body doing what it's designed to do. That's intelligent. But if that cell looks like another type of cell, maybe a muscle cell, or maybe that cell looks like a nerve system cell, or maybe that cell looks like a pancreas cell, well, then now your body starts attacking that too, thinking it's one of these foreign invaders, and this eventually becomes an autoimmune disorder. What's the medical treatment? Weaken the immune system, weaken the body, minimize symptoms and manage disease. Well, that doesn't make you a healthier person. That just makes you less symptomatic. But why did it happen in the first place? How do we fix the cause? How do we restore the function? We're going to talk about that today. Brain disorders, we already talked about that. Cancer. Well, we know if your immune system's compromised, you're more likely to have cancer. Makes a lot of sense. Mood disorders, learning disabilities, infertility and pregnancy complications. I mentioned your gut produces your sex hormones. So if the gut's not working, you're not going to be producing the right type of hormones for women, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone for men and women, right? These things need to be produced and in the proper amounts. Allergies, asthmas, food sensitivities. How do you get a food sensitivity? Well, it's because of gut dysbiosis, right? That's not supposed to happen, right? So if we fix the gut, a lot of these things go away. Why is every kid allergic to 20 things? We got to wear this little necklace that says don't smell peanuts, otherwise you're going to go into allergic shock. Well, why does that happen, right? There's no coincidence that these kids now get more vaccines, eat worse food, are less active, are more stressed, take more medications than any other generation before them. So of course they have more mood disorders, more allergies, more health problems, more fatigue, more brain disorders, more gut-related problems. I mean, it just makes sense. So why don't we get back to let's just live healthier versus managing the disease or blaming other things? So what is gut dysbiosis? Dysbiosis means that things aren't working properly. One or more of the different systems of your entire digestive system is now out of balance. That's a dysbiosis. And where does that really come from? The biggest issue with most gut issues actually goes back to your microbiome. What is the microbiome? So the microbiome is actually these little bacteria that live in your gut. These are symbiotic bacteria. Symbiotic means that they're good for you. Means that you live in common relation. And we have symbiotic bacteria, we have symbiotic virus, we have symbiotic things in our body that are for our benefit. So when you look at things like using antibacterial soap all the time, sanitizing every surface you use, right, constantly just sanitation lifestyle, well, you're actually destroying your gut microbiome. You're destroying your natural defenses. You're just eradicating your gut microbiome, which is horrible for your body. So you wonder why you're more sensitive to these types of things. Right? Many of the things you do to avoid sickness and disease actually create the problem you're trying to avoid. So I don't sanitize anything with chemicals, nothing. I don't use bleach, I don't use any type of these chemicals that says kills everything, because it's also killing you. It's killing your pets, it's killing the people around you. Extremely toxic. There's a reason why it says don't drink, don't consume, don't get it on your skin, don't smell it, wear a mask or whatever. It's because it's extremely toxic. So you got to be very, very careful of what you do. Even a hand sanitizer is toxic to you. Even the soap, the antibacterial soap is toxic to you. Even things that are maybe naturally antibacterial that in some cases are good for you could be affecting your gut microbiome because you don't want to kill these things. And the worst thing that kills them the most is antibiotics. Antibiotics is like napalm taking out a forest of your microbiome, just wipes it out. And you can't just take probiotics for 2 weeks and it's better, right? This could take years to restore, years. Even just with 1 round of antibiotics, because it just wipes it out that much, right? Just think about that, right? If you had a lawn and somebody drove over your lawn with a tractor and you went out there the next day and watered the lawn, would it be better? No, it wouldn't be fixed. You'd still have a flat mud lawn. In fact, it's going to take a little while. You might get a couple seedlings here and there, but you're not going to see a nice plush lawn for a while. It's toast, right? That's what's happening. You have to fertilize it, you have to plant it, you have to rototill, you have to feed it, you have to keep water, it has to be in the sun, so on and so forth. You keep doing it, and you don't keep running a tractor over it. You don't do it over and over again and wonder why it's not growing. That's what your gut microbiome is. You gotta take care of it, you gotta do it in the right way. So sometimes we can get bacteria that aren't as good, or they can get out of balance. This would be called bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO is commonly. You also get different types of pathogens that can go in there. And again, a lot of times this is treated with antibiotics or other medical type procedures, but you're killing the good with the bad. There is ways to crowd out bad bacteria. There is ways to starve them and overwhelm them with the good things. We're going to talk about how to take care of this today. This is an issue, and it can be caused by many different types of things, from stuff that we're exposed to, certain types of diets. They can all feed this. So we want to understand what feeds bad bacteria, what feeds good bacteria, how to know the difference. Because when these things get out of balance, what will happen is it creates inflammation. Inflammation at any point in your body creates pain, and it creates dysfunction and disease. Inflammation is like fire. So whether that's a joint or a certain type of tissue or a muscle, everyone understands what inflammation is. You twist your ankle, it swells, it's hot, it hurts. That's inflammation. Well, that could be happening in your stomach. That could be happening in your mouth. That could be happening in different parts of your digestive system from the beginning to the end. And so inflammation can present as so many different issues. Diverticulitis, it can present as irritable bowel syndrome. It can present as heartburn and GERD and all these other things. Those are all inflammatory conditions where the body's in a stress state and the system is overwhelmed, so it's inflamed. Well, again, we don't want to treat the symptom. We don't want to manage the effect. We want to understand, why is that happening? Let's look at the cause, remove the interference, and restore the normal function. And then the effect, the symptom, well, that just goes away on its own. Leaky gut is caused by so many different things, different types of stresses, from emotional stress. Yes, the stress of your regular life can cause gut dysbiosis. It's absolutely proven many times. Lack of exercise and movement, toxicity, whether that's environmental toxins that are in the air and water, that are toxins that are in our food, herbicides, pesticides, glyphosate, which is in all genetically modified foods, destroys your gut and rips holes in your gut lining, horrible for you. Also, things that are common in medications cause gut damage. Vaccines, we know, creates leaky gut problems and gut damage consistently over and over again. And these are common all the time. People are getting these types of things. And so we're getting these stresses all the time that damages the gut and creates these leaky gut type issues, which leads to what would be considered as disease. Disease is just a label for a condition that's going on in your body. So what we want to do is address the key issues. Why are these things happening? Right? Ask questions, be curious about what they are, and not focus on just treating and managing a condition, whether that's healthy or whether that's medically. You want to look at the difference. So when you have leaky gut issues, right, this is a form of gut dysbiosis. What are some of the things that you would commonly experience? Well, inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease is when you get bloating and pain. Sometimes you have diarrhea, sometimes you have constipation. The gut is just always out of balance. When you eat certain things, you just don't feel right. That's irritable bowel syndrome. That's an inflammatory issue. Autoimmune disorders, we talked about that and touched on how that is caused by leaky gut problems, creating a system where the body's attacking itself. Depression, anxiety, because of the hormones that are produced from the gut itself. Eczema, so a lot of times when you have toxicity issues that are getting out, they'll come out in your skin. The skin is the largest organ in the body. And typically when you're having skin problems, it's a good system to say that, hey, you have a problem with either eliminating toxins, a problem with your gut and digestive system, because now your body's trying to get out in other ways. Because you have primary detox systems. You have a liver, you have a spleen, you have a lymphatic system, you have a urinary system, you have a gut digestive system. This is the things that are designed to eliminate toxins from your body. And in a healthy system, it's going to do that. But either if you're overwhelmed by toxins or the systems aren't working, for most people it's a combination of both, well then it creates this overflow, where now these are floating around the body and they come out in many different ways. For some people it comes out as inflammatory issues, others it comes out as health conditions or fatigue or joint inflammation. For some it comes out as skin problems, whether it's psoriasis or eczema or flaky skin or rosacea or all these different types of inflammatory skin issues. Well, many times it's linked to the gut in some way and how your body is processing these things through your body. Headaches and migraines, big time, right? Those can be hormonal. Those are releasing toxins. They're affecting the different systems and chemicals in your body, creating stress and inflammation. Chronic fatigue, obviously your body's working overtime constantly, working on this system. then it's going to be tired. It's not going to have the energy to do the regular stuff, so you're going to get fatigued a lot more easily. So can you see now this is a lot more than just like a stomach or a gut problem, right? It's not just a digestive issue. It's a whole body health problem. And you want to take care of this, right? Should we just take care of stuff when it's at its acute? When I get diagnosed with psoriasis or an autoimmune disorder, and then start looking at it? I wait till I get diagnosed with cancer or IBS to say, oh, maybe I should change my diet up a little bit now that it's super, super bad and I'm diagnosed as being sick. Or should we do things now to prevent that from happening? Or if you're starting to notice some of the early warning signs of these things, like not feeling right after you eat, feeling a little bit tired, maybe having some sensitivities, or when you eat a certain thing, you get a runny nose or something. These are the early warning signs that, hey, you're already having a problem. You're moving towards that dysfunction and dis-ease cycle. Let's take care of it now. Or just, I feel fine, but I want to make sure I stay well and never have to deal with all that nonsense. Because you only feel 10% of what goes on. 10%, that's it. If we judge our health by the 10%, that's the worst when we're in the most acute stress, you're always going to struggle. Let's focus on the 90% that you have control of. Right, let's focus on preventative and proactive approaches, ideally, so that way we can live a healthy, natural lifestyle and not have to be limited by low energy, pain, dysfunction, and disease. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Awesome. So is it possible to heal? A lot of people have these limiting beliefs that, oh, I just have this condition. They own that condition like it's theirs, and they hold on to it super tight, like, oh, I have diverticulitis. There's nothing you can do about that. Like my doctor said, I'm going to deal with this for the rest of my life. I got to take these drugs and I got to do these things. That's a lie. It's absolutely not true. Your body can always heal, right? The only time you can't heal is when it gets so bad they do surgery and they actually start removing parts of your body. We can't replace that. They take out your gallbladder, I can't give you a new gallbladder and it's not going to grow back, right? If they take out part of your digestive system or they cut off a piece of your colon because you have these inflammatory issues for too long and you never knew the things we talked about today, no one ever told you to go to a drug-free doctor who could actually help you fix the problem, and you just kept managing the disease until it was beyond repair. We're not fixing that. There's something called limitations of matter. If you remove something, it's not coming back. But as long as you have all your parts, and you're willing and able to do what it takes to get better, you can and will heal. Sometimes you have to be patient. Maybe it's not going to happen next week like that. Maybe it's not going to be next month. Maybe it won't even be 6 months or a year. But if you do it for long enough, I guarantee you will get there. It's just a matter of time. It's physiology. The body's designed to heal. That's your most innate function, is healing. And the body will always heal as long as we can correct the cause, remove enough of the interference, and support the healthy healing in the right way with the 5 essentials we're going to talk about today. So that's what you can feel confident about, is that the ability is there if you're willing and able to do what it takes to be able to get better. And for some people, that's their limiting belief, is that they just can't or won't do what it takes for whatever reason it is. I'm just too busy. I've tried it before. It costs too much. Whatever. That's your choice. So we want to look at the different models of health. The real definition of health, and we talk about this all the time, right? Are we just a management of disease? Are we just feeling good, right? To be at our lowest level here. This is the comfort zone, kind of in the middle, right? We look at this, comfort to no symptoms, right? This is right about the point here where you're feeling okay, about a 6 out of 10. I mean, who really wants to function at 60% of their health capacity? Anybody? Nobody, right? So if you're that person who's like, well, I feel good now, I don't need to do these things anymore, that's exactly what you're doing. If you're saying like, oh man, now that I feel great, or I lost the weight, or I did this or that, I can go back to eating cheeseburgers again and sitting on the couch and doing all the things I used to do, but then you're just going back this way, right? Or it's like, well, I'm feeling better now. I guess I don't have to get adjusted anymore. I don't have to do my home care. I don't have to exercise. I don't have to do these things. I can go back to doing the stuff I wanted to do. Well, what'd you do? You're going right back this way, right? When do we stop working towards a 10? When should you stop working towards your optimum health potential? Never, right? That just doesn't make any sense. So I'm always confused when someone says, well, they want a certain thing, but then now they say, but, right? That B word, but I'm just too busy. But I tried and it didn't work out. But it costs too much. But, all the way down the line. So it's like, well, you want this thing, and here's the pathway to do it, but you're putting up all these excuses and limiting beliefs on why you can't do it. So you're the person who's interfering with your own ability to actually get better. Why do we do that? I don't know, I'm guilty of that. I've totally done that before. Everybody's done it at some point in time, right? That's when it's important to have somebody who will hold you accountable to what it really takes, ask the hard questions, and help guide you in the process of, is this what you really want? Do you really want to go back to managing that with drugs and surgery? Do you really want to go back to sick and low energy and all the things that you experience? Because we tend to forget those things. That's just part of survival, right? We don't remember all those horrible situations, how bad it was, because otherwise we would just never do anything. We live in fear all the time of being hurt or having a problem. You forget like how bad it was now that it's better. Remember how important it is to continue the things that you learn, because that's how you continue to improve, right? That's why we move out of the disease model to the health model. Because what does the disease model look like? Bombing the city, right? When you have a problem and you have an infection, well, let's throw antibiotics at it. If you don't want to get sick, let's give you a vaccine. If you have pain, let's give you a pill to lessen the pain. If you have heartburn, let's give you a pill to lower your stomach acid. If you don't have enough stomach acid, let's give you something to raise it higher. If you have diarrhea, let's slow it down. If you have constipation, let's speed it up, right? It's just constantly disease management. And so now you're on one pill, but that pill causes a new problem, and now because you've been taking the ibuprofen, you're getting ulcers, and that creates another problem. And so now you have to change these certain types of things, which create gut dysbiosis down the line. Now you're getting inflammatory issues, and your mood's all messed up, and you're not sleeping anymore. And it just goes on down the list, so now you're diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and they give you more drugs for that. And that creates another issue that goes on down the line and just continues. You think it's funny, but this is absolutely true with what happens. Ask somebody, how many drugs are you taking? Well, I got this list here, and what is this one for? Well, I'm not even sure. What's this one for? Well, my one doctor gave me this one, and then I just started with this new guy, and he gave me this one, and said I should be taking that one, and I just take them all because that's what I'm supposed to do. Again, this is what goes on. If you went down the street and interviewed 10 people today, you would find like 6 to 7 of the people, that's their reality. That's just what the research shows. 100% true. Maybe that was you at some point. Maybe that's still you a little bit, and you're trying to get out of it. You're just hanging on to that last little bit, right? The idea is you want to completely get yourself out of that medical mindset and model. There are maybe acute times in emergency situations where that is necessary, but it's not a way of life. It's not a way you want to continue to live, right? If you have a severe challenge in a short period of time, it may help you get through that. And then thankfully you had that. But then immediately you want to get back to, how do I get back to normal function again? How do I get on my own? How do I get off all this stuff and get back to living healthy? That's what we really want to focus on. That's what we're going to spend the rest of the time on today, right? How do we actually get healthy? How do we help the body heal itself, right? Again, we're not treating anything. I'm not the treater of any kind of condition. I don't diagnose conditions. I don't give therapies or certain ways to treat something like, oh, take this for this. That's never what we're going to ask you to do. That's not what I recommend. That's not even within my scope of practice as a chiropractor and a health coach. I'm not going to tell you to get off your medications. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you ways that you can do things on your own. And that decision is between you, your doctor, and whoever you make healthcare decisions with and how you do that. But when you do these things, I can assure you that you will get the changes that you're looking for in your life. It's just a matter of taking action, being consistent, and giving your body time to heal. You don't ever give up. That's the key. Right? The Olympics are on right now. And so you look at these athletes. Anybody like the Olympics? Some of you watching that? Some of the best athletes in the world, right? You think they had some tough times along the way? You think they didn't want to go to practice one day? You think they want to do that extra 500 laps in the pool? No, of course not, right? I've not interviewed, but I've read books on some of the highest performing athletes in the world. And most consistent what they talked about is they were the most okay with doing the boring stuff over and over and over again and training harder and more than anybody else. That was it. It was nothing special. Once you get to a certain level, pretty much everyone is relatively at the same level as you talent-wise. You know, everyone's 6'8" in the NBA, and everyone can shoot a 3, and everyone's capable of dunking and doing all these things, and they're all really good. Every single one of them is good. That's how they got to that level, right? Every runner in the Olympics is great. Every swimmer in the pool is awesome. Why does 1 or 2 or 5 people consistently win? It's not like they were so genetically best above everybody else. Some people have that tendency, and they align it with their sport, and that's really good. But still, at that level, they just did the extra. How they took care of themselves, how they trained. You look at their regimen, it's not an accident. They never just show up and hope for the best. They were prepared. They visualized it. They did all this stuff, right? So what if you addressed your health and your life that way? What if you addressed your health like an Olympic athlete? What if you prepared the same way? You knew exactly what I'm going to eat today, how I'm going to do my things today, which parts of my body am I going to take care of, when am I going to exercise, when am I doing my spinal care, what time am I going to sleep, what time am I waking up, right? How do I take care of my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health? And you planned all that, and you were specific, and you had coaches, and you worked on it, and you always got better. And if it wasn't working, you tried harder. What if we did that? You think that would create some better outcomes?
Yep.
Yeah. What does happen though? We try for a little bit, oh, it didn't work out. I guess I'm gonna give up, oh, it was a little painful, right? You think it was painful to practice some days? Yeah. You think sometimes maybe it was a little bit worse and they forgot why they were doing what they were doing, they wanted to quit and give up? Of course. But they didn't, and that's why they're successful. So the difference between those who are successful and who are not are the ones who don't give up. That's it. You don't fail until you quit. So don't quit, and you'll win. That's all that goes into it. So if you haven't taken the Lifers questionnaire, let's do it. Because it's going to measure the different areas. Again, don't do it right now. Do it when you get home. But you have the link. If you don't have it, we'll send it to you. We text message as many people as we could the link there too. And you might have even gotten an email from it. And if not, again, ask us and we'll send it to you. But what it's going to do, it's going to ask you different questions on what you do. It's not a hard test, right? You don't have to put the right answer. Just be honest and be open with what it says. And it'll give you back a report and says, well, these areas you're doing good, these areas you're at a higher risk, right? Maybe you don't exercise enough, so your oxygen exercise is lower. Maybe you still use a lot of conventional products for cleaning and personal care and don't eat organic all the time, so your minimizing toxins is going to be a little bit higher. Maybe you're stressed and you don't sleep that much and your relationships are challenged or whatever it may be and your mindset's a little bit off, right? Or you don't take care of your spine, you don't have a corrective care chiropractor, you don't do home care, you don't do these kinds of things, so your spinal care, that one's going to be really high. So there's different areas that you're going to see, and the goal is to get a healthy overall function that goes into here. And it'll give you a score that comes out of that, right? You want to score in the green zone. The green zone means that you're doing really well. It means that you're within that optimal range, and once you're there, we want to stay that way proactively, right? It's not the ticket to go back and start doing whatever. It's okay, I'm doing well, let's continue to build on that, right? How do the best stay the best? They keep working on it. Now, if you have some specific issues, there's ways to look at what's actually going on in the body. So we're starting to do these metabolic testing now. So what it says is we don't guess, we test. So just like if all of you that are chiropractic patients here in the office, when you first came in, you didn't just say, oh, my back hurts here, can you press on it? And we're like, yeah, and we went right for it, right? That's guessing. Maybe it's here, that's symptom treatment and management. What did we do? Well, we did an exam, we did some x-rays, we did some scans, we looked at what specifically is going on here. Where's the problem really coming from? Where do we really want to focus, right? And that's how we were able to create a specific care plan with specific expected outcomes. And that's how you made progress and actually got better. Well, that's what metabolic testing is. What if we could do that for your cells? What if we could do that for your hormones or your digestive system and get an overall look at the different systems of your body and how they're working? And if they aren't working, why? Where's the cause? Where's the interference? And have a plan to actually take care of it, where we could get an expected outcome and level of results, and we could actually retest, re-x-ray to see, oh yeah, here's what's improving, here's what we still need to keep working on, here's exactly what that process looks like, very, very specific, right? This is the highest way to take care of your metabolic system, and when it comes to nutrition and so many other things. So there's actually a flyer in here, in your packet, that talks about this, right? When we look at the different packet, what you're going to see in here, hope you're taking notes. This first page goes through the gut health perspective. So these are just some basics from the 5 essentials that you want to start doing as a reminder for today. So at the most basic level, if you just did these things, you're going to already be doing better. It goes through some different protocols here on the back, which we're going to talk about for gut repair and healthy cellular function. And then it talks about the metabolics testing. Now, metabolics testing is 2 different tests. It's a urinalysis test and it's a blood spot test. Both can be done at home. Both are very simple and non-invasive. We send it off to a lab. We have health experts that look at that and interpret all those results. They send back protocols and recommendations that we review with them. We take that information and we take it with all the other health history you have and everything we know about you and your condition and what you share with us. And we come up with a specific plan on how to take care of that, which would include lifestyle recommendations, nutrition recommendations. It would take into account what we saw in your LRQ, maybe some specific supplement recommendations based upon what's working, what's not, and how to bridge the gap in those areas. Very cool what's on here. I recommend anybody who is ready to take their health to the next level to go ahead and do this. Right? Take the time, make an investment in yourself to find out what's going on. Right? Otherwise, you're doing medical tests at the doctor's office when you're already sick. And what do those tests do? They look at pathology. They look at disease. They're not going through why it's happening. They're not looking at your health system and what's working and what's not. They're diagnosing disease. And once they diagnose disease, what happens? Drugs and surgery, right? Here's the disease. We know what's going on. Here's the drugs. Now you're managing disease the rest of your life. And nobody raised their hand and said, I want to go that route. I love managing disease. Drugs and surgery is the way to go. No one said that. So then this is the way you need to be managing your health. We need to look at what's really going on. Right? So that way we have different, specific, step-by-step goals. So when we look at this plan, the actual cost of this plan is $1,390 to do the testing. That's the lab fee. Because with Max Living, we have multiple office and doctors that works with this lab. They give it to us at a discount, which is $650. So that's the standard cost for the metabolic testing. Anytime you come into our office or want to do this, it's going to be $650. Right? And then based upon that, we create a plan. And typically that's an additional amount on top of that because we're going to have recommendations, things we're doing. We'll have check-ins and guidance along the way. This is really like a concierge type of thing where we're guiding you and coaching you the whole way through. We're doing it today at a discounted cost of just $550. The reason why we do that is I want to help you guys have the resources and make this available to as many people as possible. And this is for today only. So if you are interested in doing this, before you go today, make sure you talk to Kaylin. Kaylin, raise your hand, everybody. Wave to Kaylin there. Kaylin is our nutrition and 5 essentials expert. She's the one who's going to be help guiding you through this. She's a health coach. She's had all kinds of training. She's going through the metabolics training and all this stuff that we're doing. So we're working on these things side by side with the experts to make sure that you're getting the best possible. So you got multiple people looking at this and helping create what it is that you're doing. We're not just got some cookie cutter plan that we're throwing in there. It's very specific. So I highly recommend doing this, either just to stay well and see where you are, or if you're dealing with any issues that you've kind of come up to struggles on with weight loss or energy or any metabolic functions, this is a good way to get to the next level on that. Now we want to go through the process of healing and recovery. We already talked about this. Find the cause, remove the interference, restore the function. This is pretty much the pathway we're always going to go to. What are some of the causes? Well, you guessed it, poor food, the standard American diet. You can think that you're going to get a lot less nutrient value from the McDonald's cheeseburger than you would maybe from like an organic salad with lots of colorful fruits and vegetables and maybe some organic fish. Right? That's a different type of nutrient density to your body. It's still food, right? It's still going to give you energy. It still fills you up, whatever it may be. But there's a big difference. So when you eat poorly, right, those things create inflammation. They create toxic stress. They overwhelm the systems and they cause the damage to the gut that we're trying to avoid. So we're going to go through the top 5 foods to avoid. These are the ones that you definitely want to write down. And as always, I think we've talked about sugar maybe a couple times before and how it may be damaging to your body in some way. Sugar is right there at the top of the list, unsurprisingly, for a lot of reasons. When it comes to gut issues, sugar is actually what feeds a lot of the bad bacteria. They feed off that sugar, and that's how they grow and repopulate. So if you have a real high sugar diet, many times you get gut dysbiosis because you're actually feeding the enemy and you're starving the good stuff. The good stuff doesn't want sugar. They want real nutrients to break down and consume. The sugar is what's feeding everything else around it. So that's not good. We don't want to give it a lot of sugar. Plus sugar is inflammatory. Anytime you have something inflammatory and you're creating inflammation in the stomachs, you're going to get more stomach acid. It's going to get more insulin that spikes in your body. It's going to put more stress on the pancreas. A lot of sugary foods are also high unquality fat foods. So now we're having to secrete more stuff from the gallbladder, having to break down more of those fats. It's harder for the body to digest, and it creates all these imbalances and problems. Artificial sweeteners are actually worse. So you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to get sugar, so I'll use like the little pink packet or the blue packet, right? Because I have diabetes or I know sugar is bad for me. So now I'm going to use those. Or maybe I'll use the yellow packet because I heard that was better and that has sucralose instead. But they're all bad. They're worse for you. They're going to damage your brain and your nervous system. They're going to punch more of those holes in the gut that you don't want. They're chemicals. So now you took sugar, it was at least like a somewhat natural thing, although not good for you in high amounts. And now you're using these chemical processes, and that's even worse for you. So you certainly don't want any artificial sweeteners. And so a lot of people will start using xylitol, and they'll use stevia, which are better. But even then, if you can get away with it and you don't have to use a lot of sweeteners, period, I would say avoid that. A lot of people's taste buds are messed up and they're used to sweet. And they get used to it and the brain starts to want that and it craves it and everything goes into it. I can tell you without a doubt, and I've talked to multiple people about this too, if you start changing the way you eat, your taste buds will change too. The patterns of your brain will change. Sometimes it's more painful initially, right? Like if you try to quit smoking or you try to stop drinking coffee or do these other things, like you get a headache and you don't feel good and you're irritable. It's because your brain's like, give me my fix. Where's it at? I need it. And then you're like, no. It says yes. Then it fights back and you feel horrible. And you're like, no. And then it fights back harder. But once you make it to the threshold, it gives up. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're not getting it now, so I can turn that part of the brain off. And then as long as you keep going that way, you're going to stay that way. But what happens if you have that little piece of cake, right? For the next 3 days, you're like, cake, bread, sugar, yes. But then that goes away again. And it just keeps going in these different kinds of cycles, right? So the idea is retrain your brain and systems, which you can do, but only if you do it consistently enough. Right? So that's why you want to try to get out of the idea of, I don't need sweet stuff. I don't got to put sweet everything in my coffee and tea and drink and food and everything else that I consume. Let's just get rid of it. There's actually some natural, really good flavoring foods that taste good on their own without that.
What about monk fruit?
Monk fruit's kind of along the same way. You know, it's right up there with the stevia and the stuff. It's better, you know, not as bad, but you don't want to like monk fruit everything and make everything super sweet, you know? Gluten, everyone knows now, everyone's heard of gluten, right? Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat gluten. And gluten necessarily isn't great for you, and a lot of people have intolerances to gluten because of the way most of the time that it's used. If you actually sprout most grains, you'll get rid of the gluten problem. But for a lot of people, gluten is inflammatory. So as much as you can, try to avoid it. It's very common in your, pastas and grains and breads and stuff like that. They're gonna have wheat gluten. But you can start getting sprouted grains, you can get ancient grains, you can get a lot of these things that actually don't have gluten in it. You don't have to get that like nasty, dry, gluten-free, horrible bread. Everyone knows what I'm talking about if you tried that. Right, where you try to eat it and it like flakes away.
Yeah.
Like this is worthless. Right?
You can't put butter on it.
Yeah. Like you don't have to do that. Like there's better forms of bread that you can use. Like you can get some nice sprouted grains. You can start getting a replacement for that stuff, and it's actually pretty good, right? It's not going to be the same like doughy, delicious like baguette bread, but it's still going to be good. Also, conventional meats, big problem for a lot of reasons, the way they're raised. But what happens is we think of, well, I want to start eating organic and I want to be healthier. But the organic chicken is just like, it's like $4 more. I'm just going to get the regular one over here, right? And so what happens is, what do they feed those chickens? Well, they fed them grain that was treated with glyphosate, which we're trying to avoid, which causes a gut problem. They gave them antibiotics, and they gave them steroids and hormones and everything else that's allowed by the FDA as healthy, because they know exactly what's good for our health. Right? They're totally on our side. And that's totally cool to put a certain level of chemicals and toxins and all these carcinogens into the meat, and that's okay, as long as it's a small amount. And that's in there, and then you eat it, right? So now you're getting all that stuff. So you did super good, but now you ate this bioaccumulated toxic meat. Let's not do that. So let's eat organic, free-range, grass-fed, healthy. Like, if you think of how would this animal live on their own? Like, if I just put them in the wild, like, what would they do? Well, they would roam and graze, and they would eat these certain types of things, and they would grow at a certain pace, and they would look a certain way, and they'd be taken care of in a certain way, right? Well, let's try to get them to that form, just like how you'd want to live your life, right? If you lived in a cage and were injected with a bunch of crap and ate the worst food ever, you wouldn't be very healthy, right? And so if you eat unhealthy things, what does that do to you? It makes you unhealthy. So we want to eat healthy things because that makes you healthy. So healthy foods, healthy plants, healthy animals, all these things. Well, if you eat more of the healthy stuff, you're more likely to be healthy, and that just makes sense, right? Let's stick with that. Let's also look at fats. So fats, damaged fats, these are going to be things that you have in there. These are going to be like your vegetable fats. These are going to be your corn fats. These are going to be your processed fats and trans fats. all the things that's in all the processed foods, right? If you look at anything of crackers or chips or cookies, it's going to say hydrogenated oils and vegetable oils and corn oils and high fructose corn syrups and all these other fats that are all over the place. But we don't want that. We don't want the bad, unhealthy, saturated fats, right? We don't want the nasty fats that come along with things, because those actually can clog arteries and cause damage and create inflammation, and we don't want those for sure. We do want some healthy fats, right? There's healthy fats that come from foods like coconuts and avocados and olives, and healthy plants and animals have good fats that we need in the right amounts. We do want to get those. It's not that we have to avoid fat altogether. We do want some of the healthy fats because it does make up our cell membranes. It does make up our brain and neural tissue. It's a great source of energy. It actually tastes really good. If you want to make your stuff taste better, use a little bit more healthy fat in there. It gives it some good taste to it. And that's good for us. It actually stimulates your body to burn fat if you're doing it in the right ratio. Now, some people will get in the high fat diets like keto, other things like that, which can be good temporarily, but is not something you're supposed to be doing forever. Right? You don't want to be keto forever, because then you start creating other types of problems. Another thing of gut dysbiosis is alcohol, especially your stronger alcohols, like your higher alcohol content spirits. Right? That's definitely going to cause gut dysbiosis. Right? And you feel it. Like if you drink a bottle of whiskey, you're going to have heartburn and you feel sick. Like a hangover is because you poison your body, honestly. And your body's like fighting back against you, like, I'm not feeling very good. You know, I'm sick. Like, that's why you drink too much, throw up, right? It's because you're poisoning your body. And so one of the benefits of alcohol, it works in a certain part of your brain, it makes you feel a certain way, right? So there's some benefits to that socially, and it's something that a lot of people do, and I even do myself. But there's ways to do it in a healthier way, right? There's certain types of alcohols that are better than others. Like there's certain types of wines that you can get that are very low sugar and are more organic and are healthier for you and actually can have some positive benefits if you have like a glass or two, not a bottle or two. Right? A bottle or two is always going to be bad for you. There's certain types of alcohols and liquors too that may have some benefit. Certain types of fermented types of things that can be somewhat healthy or less bad for you. So in moderation with wise choices is going to be better. But of course you don't want to get the real gut bomb ones or the ones that are unhealthy for you. Also nutritional deficiencies. If we're not eating nutrient dense foods, you should have a diverse diet. If you eat like the same 5 things all the time, you're going to have problems. Your diet needs to be diverse, and try to do it seasonally. There's certain types of things that in certain seasons grow better. Like in summer you're going to get a lot of types of fruits, right? Grapes and berries, and the sun is what makes them sweet and makes them come out in there. So you're going to get a lot of lettuces and things like that come around. So there's a lot of things that happen at certain times. In the fall, you're going to get more squashes and more things along those lines, right? And then apples in the winter, and there's different types of the year. You get certain types of foods, and you can certainly get those now all over the place because they'll come from Ecuador or Mexico or somewhere else, and we have them available. But try to make it diverse. You know, eat lots of colorful things. You see on here, all different sources, different types of meats and nuts and seeds and legumes and different types of greens and vegetables and fruits and berries. You want to get as wide and diverse as possible because that's how you're going to get the best nutrient deficiency. So we're going to talk about a couple different plans, and these aren't diets. These are things that you can do that are sustainable, right? That are easy, that are principle-based. So the core plan, many of you have probably heard us talk about this before. The core plan is just your standard average living healthy plan. This is what I do most of the time. So core plan is we want to get a good amount of healthy forms of fats. We want to get, if you do eat dairy, you want to get different types of full fat dairy. So you want to get as much as you can raw and organic, if it's cheese or milk or certain things in those areas. You want to make sure you get naturally raised animal products. You can get grains in there, but we want to get the healthy type grains. We want to get the sprouted grains. We don't want to get the processed grains, you know, the Wonder Bread, stuff like that. We want to make sure we get a variety of fruits and vegetables, a lot of plant-based carbohydrates. So plant-based carbohydrates are going to be your, you know, broccoli and mushrooms and all these other things that are also full of fiber and good for your gut. So just simple, right? Easy things that you can get. There's not a specific, you have to eat exactly this and eat these 4 things, right? To this ratio. You just want to eat a diverse type of nutrition from a quality source. Now when you come to the advanced plan, this is when you do have issues. So if you have some level of gut dysbiosis, you have a health challenge, you're trying to lose weight, or you're working through some kind of an issue, well, the advanced plan is a way to help your body do that. So in the advanced plan, we really cut out all forms of sugar. This even includes some fruits. This even includes breads and grains and stuff like that, because you want to give your body a chance to reset, right? It's been damaged and it needs to heal. Sometimes to heal, you need to give it a break. This is why fasting works really well. When people do fasting, maybe like intermittent fasting, or sometimes people will do like a couple of days fast or water fast, and they just have all these miraculous things that happens. Most cultures have some level of fasting that go along with their culture or religion. Well, there's a reason why, because they want to reset the body for health purposes. That has beneficial effects because your body gets a chance to rest. Because even just the idea of processing and digesting food takes a lot of energy. It really does, a lot of energy to digest food, especially unhealthy foods. So giving your body a break sometimes allows it to heal. So the advanced plan gives it a break from those types of things, from sugars and from processed foods and from all these other things, to give it a break. So you're mostly eating like a moderate amount of healthy proteins, a lot of healthy fats, and a lot of still plant-based type carbohydrates from healthier sources. You want to get no sugar at all. You want to get all grains out of there and only eat berries when it comes to fruits, because those are the lowest in sugar. Make sense? I mean, it's pretty simple, right? It's not like a 20-page thing that's so strict and is very hard to do. It's relatively easy to follow. And if you're unsure, just look at, is this a food that grows naturally and healthy from the earth, that is minimally processed? And if the answer is yes, then I can probably eat it. I think it just makes sense.
What about apples? Is that considered low sugar?
Green apples are. So yeah, like the green Granny Smith apples, the ones that are kind of sour and a little more bitter. Right? Those ones don't have as much sugar, obviously. The real sweet, juicy, flavorful ones, those have more sugar. So you don't want to take a lot of those. And you certainly don't ever want to juice a lot of fruits. Because when you juice fruits, you get tons of sugar in there, right? So the purpose of the fiber of the fruit is actually to help digest the sugar. So if you eat like an orange, for example, you have all the fiber in the orange and it helps digest it and you get the vitamin C and all the good things, and you eat one orange. But when you ever made a cup of orange juice, you use like 15 oranges, right? You would never eat 15 oranges. Like, that's just crazy. But if you squeeze 15 oranges juice into one little cup and you drink it, well, now you get like 80 grams of sugar, right? And you get no fiber. So what does that do? Poof, massive blood sugar spike right away. So you don't want to do those types of things. You don't want to do apple juice and fruit juice and all that kind of stuff because it's not healthy for you. So these are some foods that are gut health foods. Things like cruciferous vegetables, garlic, onions, cauliflower, broccoli. We know these things are healthy. Try to include them as often as you can in what you do. They're great for flavors, lots of greens, collard greens, watercress. I don't think they have it on here, but
Watercress, is that like
kale.
Is that like a lettuce? Watercress?
Watercress is, how do you explain watercress?
Is it crunchy or is it more like lettuce?
Yeah, it's leafy. It's kind of interesting. It's hard to explain. Yeah.
She puts
Yeah,
it on
exactly.
sandwiches too sometimes.
Put it in the what?
She puts this on sandwiches.
Oh, okay,
It's
so
kind
it's
of-
like a garnish.
Yeah, kind of.
Fermented foods. Fermented foods are going to be like netto and kimchi and sauerkraut and kefir and kombucha. It's a liquid that's in there. These are fermented foods. Bone broth. Bone broth is also very, very good for your gut because it has different types of collagen. And a lot of your tissues are made of collagen, including your gut lining. They use a specific type of collagen, almost similar to a connective tissue. And so you can actually rebuild your gut by drinking and consuming lots of bone broth because it's really good for your digestive health. Omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids come primarily from fish. There's some plant sources of them too. But when you eat a lot of cold water fish, when you eat a lot of wild fish, you're going to get high level of omega-3 fatty acids, which are highly anti-inflammatory, which are really good for your cellular health, for your brain, and they're really good for your digestive system. And they make up a lot of the health of your gut and can reduce a lot of stress and issues. So what happens is, this is one research study that shows how through our modern diet, we have an offset ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. So most people, what do they eat? They eat the standard American diet. What does that say? Eat a whole bunch of grains, right? Whole bunch of grains and sugar and processed foods, and then eat very little oils and fats and just like a little bit of protein and some vegetables in there, and then more processed foods again, right? So it's actually the opposite of what we should be doing. So what is that doing? The omega-6, which is the more inflammatory omegas that we consume, well, that gets really high. And so you create this inflammation pattern in your body, which basically switches the inflammation switch on. And so what this goes into is it's saying over the past 100 years, because of the way that we've eaten and our modern technology, well, now we have this inverse ratio where we have way more omega-6 to omega-3, and we're creating all kinds of inflammatory problems. Well, this causes brain degeneration, huge link to ADHD, neurodevelopment in kids, dementia, Alzheimer's. We know this is highly associated with this. We know it creates inflammatory problems, cellular health issues, a lot of joint issues, right? You get inflammatory joint issues because your inflammation markers are really high, and it actually starts eating away at joints, which is not good. You certainly don't want that. Of course, this can be painful. This includes your spine and other parts of your body. So let's make sure we get these things back in balance. So one of the things that I do regularly that really helps address a lot of these things is the Daily Essentials. So the Daily Essentials has a packet. Now in this packet you get a multivitamin. The multivitamin is a natural multivitamin made from food that's unprocessed and is not a chemical thing like you're gonna get from like a Centrum or a Men's Daily, right? Those are horrible for you. Horrible, right? That's all just processed nonsense. You wanna get anything that's made from food and is bioavailable. So that's what these multivitamins do. And so that takes care of a lot of the mineral deficiencies and nutrient deficiency that's in our food. Because our food is nutrient deficient. It's been over-farmed and over-processed. The soil's not as good as it was, so we just don't get the nutrients that we need. Plus, most people don't eat enough of a diverse type of a diet that they get the stuff they need, so you get a multivitamin. B vitamins, when your gut's not working, it doesn't produce a lot of the B vitamins, so been doing a lot of gut health testing with multiple different patients and on myself and my family. And what we found is a lot of people who have gut issues, they're not producing B vitamins, they're not producing a lot of these things. So there's actually a B vitamin that's in the essential pack to help bridge the gap as we're getting things working better. It also has an omega-3 tablets in there, so you're actually getting those omega-3 healthy fatty acids that are in there as well. And magnesium, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium, so they get muscle wasting, they get sarcopenia, they get cramping, they get poor mood, low energy, right? It's because we're not getting enough magnesium. So getting magnesium helps. Magnesium is part of this packet. So you're getting all these things as part of this that you take in just one packet a day for just a couple dollars a day. I mean, like, what a great deal is that? It's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and you're getting the nutrients that you need. So it's just one of the easy basics to do, and I just take this with one of my meals, usually like lunch or dinner. I'll get this all in one packet, which is the greatest part. So even if I'm going out to eat, I'll just toss it in my pocket. If you're on vacation, I'll grab 5 of them and I'll throw them in my bag. Right? It's so easy to do and stay consistent. I don't gotta bring 6 bottles. I'm like, which one do I need? I need 2 of these and 4 of those, you know, and you got a little pill pack you're taking with you. It's just so easy and convenient. That's what I love about it. So this is one I definitely recommend everyone at least try, and you should stick with consistently, just as like a regular, let's keep myself healthy. Now, specific to gut healing, there is a process to heal your gut. Now, the first step is identify the cause. So when you look at the different areas, if you're eating poorly, if you're not paying attention to the quality of your food, if you still get too much sugar, processed foods, and you're like, well, I eat healthy like 3-4 days of the week, but then the weekends I do whatever I want, right? Time to clean it up. Like, let's get it better, right? A real plan is 7 days a week. It's not just, you know, the weekdays. It's not just when you're here. It continues. If you go out of town, you keep up with it, right? You have a plan. You're specific. When it comes to repairing the gut, we want to do all those things. We want to make sure that, okay, my gut's working well, I'm eating well, I'm avoiding the stresses and toxins. And then we go through a process of gut restoration. So there's 3 different steps, right? The 3 R's. So number 1 is we want to recondition. Reconditioning the gut is rebuilding that microbiome. So for whatever reason it was gone, whether it was stress, toxins, medications, vaccines, poor diet, lack of exercise, all those things, and now your gut microbiome's messed up. It's not breaking down your food, it's not producing the nutrients and minerals that it needs, it's messing up the processes of your body. Well, we have to go in and we have to reseed, replant the environment. That's what Megaspore does. Now, there's a lot of probiotics out there. Many of you are like, oh, I've used probiotics before. Most probiotics, you'll see there's a couple of strains in there, maybe 2 or 3. When we do the microbiome gut testing, we test like 30-something strains that's in there. And you need a multiple of these strains. And this Spore Biotic is actually a spore form. So when you take a regular probiotic, it usually dies in your stomach because it's a live, living thing. That's why if you get a really good one, you know, a lot of times they'll make you put it like in the fridge or something like that so it doesn't die, right? That's so it stays bioavailable. But what happens when it goes to your stomach? What happens when it goes in your body and it's 98 degrees? Well, it dies. It never actually gets down to the bowel. So your bowel is like one of the lowest parts, that large intestine. the probiotic has to get all the way down there, still alive, and then repopulate. And so most you take die along the way. So they're no good, right? You just threw that away. It was worthless for you. That's why fermented foods are better, because you can actually ferment them. They're already in a stable form and they get down there. Now a spore biotic is different. It's in a spore form. So a spore basically has like a protective casing. And it knows, it's within the DNA of the spore that it does not open until it reaches the gut. And then it opens. And one cool thing I learned about this, I work a lot with our representative that works with Microbiome Labs. And you can actually take these while you're doing antibiotics, and they're antibiotic resistant, which means that they will continue to thrive even with that. So even in the harshest of environments, these spores still grow and populate, which is super cool, right? So that's why we're doing the megaspore. And the research that they've done, this company does a lot of research, which I really like them. They've shown that to improve leaky gut by 60% in just 30 days with this Spore Biotic. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen anything else out there that does that. If you find it, let me know, and we'll consider having it here in the office. We only have the best stuff here. We don't just carry whatever's available. So don't just go to the store and say, oh, I learned I was supposed to take probiotics, and this one's pretty cheap. I'm gonna grab that one, and then poof, you just wasted your money because it's not actually working. So get the stuff that works.
So you don't use that together then with the other probiotic?
You can still use it.
Oh,
You can still use multiple, but if you want to know that it's actually working,
Yeah.
right? And there's only one way to test if it's working, and that's to actually test your gut. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Will it still work if you've had a vaccine?
It's still going to work, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Vaccine, it affects your gut microbiome in a bit of a different way, and it causes leaky gut issues, but this can help fix that.
Okay.
It's part of what it's going to do. It's going to help repair that. Except for some of the new ones, because we don't really know what they're going to do. They're genetic, they're different. So it also shows how it affects things like diabetes and health conditions, because we know that if your gut microbiome is out of balance, well, it's going to affect other health issues too. So this is just one of many cool studies that show once they started getting the gut microbiome healthy again and corrected that gut dysbiosis, blood sugar was better. Type 2 diabetes was actually being reversed, which is totally reversible. Type 2 diabetes. Until your pancreas dies and no longer can produce insulin, it is reversible. Even if you take insulin right now but aren't insulin dependent, it's still reversible, right? And you can definitely do it. You can. And this is a huge step of that. The next step is reinforce. So now we planted all these good seeds, right? They're growing and they're doing well. What do you do when you plant stuff? Well, you water it and you fertilize it and all these other things. Well, that's what a prebiotic does. A prebiotic actually feeds good probiotics. So prebiotics a lot of times will be fiber-rich foods. Mushrooms, onions, leeks, cruciferous vegetables, different types of legumes that are sprouted. These things, chicory root. These are all really high prebiotic foods. So a prebiotic is a little bit different. It feeds the probiotics. So now the thing that you're replenishing is starting to rebuild. And when you have the right types of prebiotics, like the Mega Pre here, it crowds out those bad bacteria. And so now those overgrowth bacteria, those pathogens that aren't supposed to be there, well, this prebiotic is actually going to starve them because you're not giving them sugar and junk anymore, so they're not growing and reproducing. And now you're feeding the good stuff, which is overpopulating the bad. And so you're actually crowding out the bad bacteria, and your body will get rid of it on its own, right? It'll get rid of those weeds. They'll be pulled and they'll be taken care of. Pretty cool, right? You don't have to bomb the city to get rid of the little bad ones. You just have to overcrowd them with the good. That's what the prebiotic does. And then you go in and rebuild. Part of leaky gut is you have these gut gap junctions. So basically what happens is these little pieces stick right next to each other all the way through your gut system like this. And they're supposed to be closed up. But when you get leaky gut, they get damaged and they get pulled and they open up. So stuff goes in, stuff goes out. Causes inflammation and damage on both sides. So what happens is we want to put it back together. This is a mucosal lining that's on the inside. Well, this uses very specific types of polysaccharides, the mega mucosa, and certain types of probiotics that actually go in and start to repair that gut lining. So now we're repopulating the microbiome, we're crowding out the bad stuff, we're creating a good environment. Now we want to close it up, right? We want to make it a closed system again. So that's what you do the mega mucosa for. The mega mucosa goes in and it closes off that system and supports that microbiome diversity that you really need. Pretty cool, right? So in 90 days, through the total gut restoration, you can go back through and restore that digestive system and get things working better. This is the #1 thing that we do with people who have gut issues. And it works amazing. It really does. I've done it myself a couple of times now. cleared up so many problems. Inflammatory issues, gut and digestion is better. I mean, really, you should be going to the bathroom once or twice a day. It should be solid, right? You shouldn't have inflammatory issues. You shouldn't have food intolerances. You should have good energy and focus all the time. If you're missing those things, you know your gut's a component and it needs to be taken care of. Right? Even if you don't have diagnosed gut disease, doesn't mean that your gut is working well. That's why we take care of it in this way. So TGR is something that we really want to focus on. It's called the Total Gut Repair, goes in through here. And that's part of what we'll be talking about tonight. There's actually a 15% discount on this to get that and repair this. This is a 90-day process that we do with this. Now there's also a gut health testing. Now different than the metabolomics test. This is the metabolomics test. This is more looking at the major systems of your body, cellular health, kind of a whole body picture, x-ray like we said, of what's going on, what's working, what's not. We're looking at multiple systems here when we're doing the metabolomics test. This is an overall health, just keeping things working well. The gut test is specifically to your gut microbiome. So this is the most advanced test I've seen for the gut microbiome. This is not like anything your doctor is going to do. This is not a colonoscopy. This is not your standard stool test, right? This is a stool test. You do it at home. And it's not what you think. It's very easy. Just poke a little thing in it and put it in a little test tube. You don't have to touch anything. It's very easy to do. I've done it myself. So here's some of the things that we do. We're actually looking at your entire genome sequencing. So we're looking at the whole gut microbiome. We can find pathogens that are in there, overgrowth. We see which part of the microbiome is working, which is not. How is your body producing vitamins and minerals and nutrients? How is it affecting your hormones and the chemicals in your body? And there's a very specific plan again to fix it. If things aren't working well, here's how we take care of it from the entire digestive system. An amazing test, right? It has very specific outcomes. We get good results. It's very inexpensive too. These tests, again, could be hundreds, thousands of dollars that are on here. Our standard test for this is $450. We're doing this one today for just $399. So if you know you do have a gut issue and you want to find out what's going on, this is the way to be able to do that, right? The BiomeFX test. And these tests usually take a few weeks, like 3 to 4 weeks to get the results back, sometimes a little bit longer. And then we'll schedule time to go back through it and we know exactly what we're focusing on. And some of the most common problems I see is a low gut microbiome. I mean, almost everybody we've tested is the gut microbiome is low. It's just really low. So they need to do the TGR. They need the Megaspore. They need to get it working again. I see a lot of people too have issues related to stress. They're overstressed, causing gut dysbiosis. I saw a lot of people have issue and comment that they need to exercise more, especially outside. So when you exercise outside, you're exposed to the elements, right? You're supposed to be exposed to the elements. This is why it's not healthy to wear a mask, because you don't breathe in the things that you need to breathe in. Number one, oxygen. Number two is there's a lot of things in the environment that help with your digestive system. You're getting bacteria, you're getting exposed to stuff that your body needs, that is good for you, that's in the soil. A lot of these things are actually made from soil, right? Even the ion biome that we use is made from soil that actually protects and restores your gut microbiome and restores the communication through the microbiome. It's from the earth. So if you're exposed to the earth more, you do more grounding, you do more exercise outside, right? You're exposed to these things, you're gonna get more of what your body needs, right? You don't have to have everything that comes from one source. It could be coming from multiple different areas. So these are the most common things that I see when we do the gut testing. Some people do have overgrowth. Some people do have pathogens. And there's specific ways to take care of those as well. And it's not a medical treatment, right? And it's not something that has to be crazy and uncomfortable. For a lot of people, they notice changes pretty quick. I've had a couple patients, it's been life-changing for them. Patients where they had such bad digestive problems, such bad diarrhea, they couldn't even go out to eat because they were afraid of what was gonna happen. They'd be in so much pain doing the stuff that they try to do regularly. And once they started doing this, we found out why that was happening. We changed up what they were doing, and the problems totally went away. I mean, it is amazing, the stuff that's possible once you really know what's going on and have a plan. And that's why you need to exercise and move more. You know, when you move and you exercise, you're gonna get better sleep. When you sleep better, you're gonna have better digestion. When you don't sleep, your body gets in a stress state, the digestive system starts shutting down, right? You get in fight or flight state. Digestion doesn't work there. When you exercise, it moves muscles. So part of your digestive system is muscles. We talked about peristalsis. It moves food through the digestive system. Well, exercise actually speeds that process up. So when you exercise more, you're gonna be healthier. Exercise overall, you're gonna have less inflammation for the most part. You're gonna have healthier hormones in your body. Things will be working better. You're gonna sweat toxins out. Just the whole system works better. It's an essential thing. You can't just skip one thing. It's like, man, everything you said was great, but that exercise thing, I don't know if I can do that. You got to do it. And you got to minimum at least go for a walk every day. I mean, everybody can do at least a walk, right? You can go on a 30-minute walk. You can do something, if you can do something that's a little bit more vigorous and you can sweat, you have an activity that you like to do, you want to go for a hike, right? You like to ride your bike or whatever that may be, go do those things too, because it's going to help you. Now here's some of the reasons I listen for people why they can't exercise. Right? This is like we talked about at the beginning. I want all these great things, but I don't have time. I don't feel like it. It's too hard. Gyms are too expensive, or they're closed, or my walking group shut down, or my sport got canceled, or whatever it is. And those things are real, right? I'm not saying you're just throwing excuses out there, but they are also limiting beliefs, right? There's always a way. Right? You're not caged in a 3-foot area. Even if you could do air squats, right? Like, there's always a way. Someone in solitary confinement in prison can still do push-ups, right? To get super ripped. Like, you can always exercise. There's always a way to be able to do it. Find what works good for you. There's no best way for everybody. You have your own best way. Find that. Find something you enjoy, you like to do. Find an activity that you do. Something that's active, but you got to do it. Because if you don't exercise, you're compromising your gut health. You just really are. It's just physiology. I've done the testing too, and I've gone through the review and said, one of your biggest problems, some people, they're doing a lot of right things, but you're not sleeping enough, you're overstressed, and you don't exercise. And until you fix those things, you're not going to get better. There's no amount of pills I can give you. There's no amount of nutrient change. There's no adjustment I can give you. If you don't change these things, you're just not going to get better. It's just a fact, because those things show up on the gut test that says these specific things react when you don't do this. So that's why it's so key. You got to have those things. And then when it comes to toxins, we know toxins damage the gut. So toxins can exist again in many forms. Some we can't control, right? There's fires and we breathe that out there. Sometimes we may get exposed to things in our lives that we couldn't control. Maybe it was passed down from a future generation. Maybe you had a mom or a grandma that was exposed to a toxin. It gets passed down from multiple lines. A lot of toxins will do that. They are multi-generational. And if nobody ever knew to eliminate those in the proper, healthy way, well, they got passed on to you. Unbeknownst that, they do fetal blood core samples, and they'll find hundreds of toxins in there when babies are born, right from the beginning. Some toxins that haven't been around for generations, still in there. And you're starting already with this toxic bucket from the very beginning. And those things likely will carry and build throughout your life. And your body can only handle so much. So if you know you have some exposure, you have issues with toxins, there's ways to be able to deal with that as well. From simple things like the detox system, getting in the sauna, exercising more, stuff like that, through the total true cellular detox program, where it's a whole 90-day major cellular detox, really cleansing out the whole system, the brain, the nervous system, which is what I recommend to anybody who's having major toxicity problems. And again, that's another program we work with that just is amazing, right? We're just taking another thing off the table. We're reducing that toxic burden. So what does that mean? Your body can focus on healing other things. It can focus on higher level function. It can give you more vitality, more energy throughout the day and stuff that you're doing. So let's avoid these things. Glyphosate. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah. Glyphosate is Roundup. Yeah, so you wouldn't drink your weed killer, would you? Right? You don't go in the garage and grab the weed killer and give it a swig. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. But what is a genetically modified food? Well, it's sprayed with Roundup. And a genetically modified food can take all kinds of Roundup and not die. Like 5, 10, 20 times more than normal. Pretty crazy, right? And even if you get non-GMO, well, they sprayed that crap in the air and it went over to the other crop over here and got a little bit on that, or maybe you live near that. We live in California. Is there any farmland in California? Just a little bit, right? You think they spray it with Roundup? Yeah, they do. And so it's in the air, it's floating around, right? It's windy today. The farm that's 5 miles away blows the glyphosate on over to you, and you ingest it even in some way. So it's not just eat GMO-free foods. You're still going to get exposed to it, which is why you still got to do this stuff to keep your body working well. BPA is in most plastics, right? So if you cook your food in a plastic thing, well, you know you're getting BPA in it. If you store it in plastic things, you're getting that. If you use plastic bottles, you're getting that. If you use a lot of common cosmetics that's full of BPA, right? If you use standard sunscreen or lotions or anything like that, you're getting BPA in there, which is why it's so important. In your packet is this sheet here, top 22 toxins, right? Instead of going through all of them and saying this one and this one and this one and writing them all down, they're right here, top 22 toxins. BPA right there at the top. Where does it exist? lead, chlorine, fluoride, cyanide, formaldehyde, parabens, all the stuff. It's all right there. So all you gotta do is just take this list and then look at all your stuff at home and see like, oh, it's on the list. I'm not gonna use this anymore. Let's go find something that's not on the list and let's use that instead. So this week's health newsletter, we talked about sunscreens and summer safety, right? Everyone's afraid of getting skin cancer, which certainly is a legitimate concern. If you're in the sun too much, you could get skin damage over time and develop skin cancer. I mean, it is possible. There's ways to avoid it, but it is possible. So everyone wears all these sunscreens, right? Layer on the sunscreen, put it all on. But what's in those? Toxins. More likely to cause cancer than the sun. And so you're actually creating the problem we're trying to avoid. This happens all the time. Like, why do we do that? Let's understand how to get the right things. So read the newsletter, that's why we put that out there. The last month we've been talking about gut health and how that works. Use this list, look at your products, make sure you're getting the things that are healthy for you, that don't have the toxins in it. And then heavy metals. So heavy metals sometimes you can't avoid. Maybe there's lead in your old paint, right? Maybe there's lead in your water pipes and it comes into your body. Maybe again, you got passed down from multi-generations, or you got amalgam fillings at some point in your life, or you accidentally broke a fluorescent light and inhaled some of the mercury from it, or you got a vaccine that had aluminum or it had heavy metals in it. Like when it goes into your bloodstream, it goes right to your brain, it goes to your neural tissue. There's no protection for that. Right? So you're getting injected with these things, or being exposed to it, you're consuming it, it's all over the place. And so now these heavy metals, they get in certain parts of your body, they increase your toxic load. And then we have 3 million tons of pesticides used each year. That's put in our food. And so if you don't pay attention to the stuff you eat, I had someone tell me the other day that like, oh, I don't believe that pesticides are harmful and you don't have to eat everything all organic. I was like, well, what is it that shows you that? Turns out she worked for the pesticide company. Like, oh, that makes sense. That's like the person who works at the drug company says it's safe to take the drug. Like, it's okay, but then you give it to them for their family, like, oh, I'm not sure. There was a super funny video that was done about the CEO of Monsanto they did years ago, where they were talking about glyphosate and Roundup, and he was talking about how it's so safe, and like, there's all kinds of levels, and we're good with it. And the guy's like, well, if I brought this glass out here of glyphosate, would you drink it? And he's like, oh, sure I would. So like they actually brought it in. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna drink that. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, well, I'm just not. Like that's not healthy. But you just said it was okay. Like you just said it was totally cool. And he got all pissed off and he actually left. He left the room. It's like, That's like the cigarette spokesman. Oh, cigarettes are good for you, and that person dies of lung cancer. I mean, it's just really what goes on. Honestly, it is the truth of the situation. It's sad, but it's true. And that's the kind of stuff that we're getting. And so you get these false lies of like, oh, pesticides aren't that bad for you, and a little bit of glyphosate's okay, and vaccines are safe, and all this nonsense, but it's not true. And there's no science to actually prove that. And if you actually speak truth, they make you feel bad, like you're a bad person, you're wrong, and you're horrible, and you're a baby killer, and you want to see your family die, and all this other stuff, because that's a way of controlling you. It is, right? Because they want more sick people. Because more sick people are easier to control, more sick people get more drugs, and that's like the number one thing. The medical system right now is like one of the highest things of our economy. If that goes away, that's a big problem. We don't want that. So let's avoid these things. Let's be part of the solution. So detox to improve your gut health. That's what the detox system does. Right? We go in, we do the detox system, cleanses that stuff out, gets those out. This is an easy system to do. 30 days you do it. If you want to do it more advanced, do it double. Do it in 2 weeks. Totally possible. Most people have no issues with this. Some people have some minor things, but very minimum. All healthy stuff. Stuff that supports your liver, has magnesium, has activated charcoal, has glutathione, has superoxide dismutase, has milk thistle, all stuff that's just natural healthy things all together to help cleanse your body. And the best part is, it's not just a detox. It's actually improving the health of your detox system so it works better. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. So this is an easy one. If you haven't done a detox in the last 3 to 6 months, do it now. It's a must. You gotta get it done.
What's the difference though between the gut health of the 90-day gut repair and this one?
The gut bundle is totally different than the detox. The detox is a cellular detox. It's cleansing toxins from your cells and different parts of your body. The gut repair is specifically repairing your gut microbiome. The detox has nothing to do with your gut microbiome. It just protects it from getting damaged.
So it's not as thorough as the 90-day gut repair?
No, the detox system is totally different than that. The gut health bundle the gut health bundle here at the top, this is like your maintenance thing that you do. This prevents gut damage, right? So this is, you do the bone broth, which is good for your gut health. You do the detox to get some of the toxins out of your body. You do the daily essentials. So now we're supporting gut health. We're taking stress off the gut system. We're doing some repair of the lining there. That's why we have the gut health bundle that goes in this area here. So you have this page that goes to the different bundles. That's what the gut health bundle is. So it's going through and doing the essentials that we talked about, the detox and the bone broth, because those are some of the main things that's really going to help maintain and keep gut health. So this is what you do if you're not having major digestive problems. If you have like an inflammatory digestive issue, you don't want to do the gut health bundle. You want to do the TGI. Yeah.
So would you typically do that after you did the 90-day gut?
Yes.
But right after, or would you wait a couple months?
See how you do. Usually once you do this, the 90-day gut repair, you can maintain that with a healthy diet.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you don't need
And you do these things periodically to keep it working well. The last two things we're going to talk about is stress and the nervous system. So I touched on it a few times how actual stress, like emotional stress, causes gut dysbiosis, and it's totally true. A lot of times the recommendations that we get back when we go through is, you know what, you need to get more sleep, and you need to do meditation, and you need to do yoga, and you need to do some deep breathing, and you need to do things to de-stress your body because the stress that you have messes you up. So you have two parts to your nervous system. You have a part that adapts under stress, and you have a part that is rest, digestion, and healing. This is called parasympathetic. This is called sympathetic. Now we're all supposed to move back and forth, right? We have times where we have stress and we need to have that sympathetic response, right? We have times where we need to run away from something or exercise or respond immediately. So what happens is your heart rate goes up, your breathing rate goes up, it shuts down digestion, immune system, hormones, because you don't need that in that moment, right? And so it's just temporarily on hold. But this system all hypes up. You see better, you get more blood to your muscles, you're ready to go, right? That's sympathetic. You've all felt that before. You know what that feeling like, the racing heartbeat, they're like, yeah, that's sympathetic, right? A lot of people live here because they're so stressed. They're always here. They're always on. They're never off. They don't sleep. They're totally overworked. They have anxiety. They're all the time, right? So what happens is these other systems remain on hold and they continue to not work. Depressed immune system, low energy, poor sleep, all kinds of mental problems, pain, inflammation, poor digestion. We're not fixing this until we get this back in balance. Number one is reduce the stress. Yeah, that makes sense. Reduce the stress. And you know where it comes from. Some are somewhat unavoidable, but not always completely, right? If you hate your job and it creates stress, well, quit, right? If you don't like your commute to work, go a different way, right? If you don't like relationships, stop hanging out with those people. Like, just stop doing it, right? If you don't get pissed off about the world, turn the news off. There you go. Gone. Issue out of there. You have control. Focus on the things you can influence and control. You'll be a lot happier and a whole lot less stressed. Pretty simple, right? Develop healthy habits around that. Meditation, journaling, healthy relationships, having coaches and guides and mentors and people that help you along the way. Get it done. And then pay attention to your nervous system, right? Structure affects function. So a lot of times you can get stuck here, but it's because of another part of your body, because of issues with your spine. So when you have subluxation of the spine, because the structure is affected, because some part of your spine is no longer working properly, well, as you can see here and here, these nerves, they go to other parts of your body, right? So if you have a problem here, the upper part of your neck, that's your autonomic system. This is what processes stress. So you could be stuck in parasympathetic or sympathetic, or your nervous system's not working properly, so the organs aren't working properly. No pill program, no nutrition, no exercise is gonna fix this because it's a neurological issue that's specifically caused from your spine. And almost no doctor looks at this. Few chiropractors do this, right? Because it requires corrective level care and knowing the problem. Well, the middle part of your back goes into your primary digestion, stomach, pancreas, liver. What if we have a problem here that's creating dysbiosis, right? That's increasing or decreasing stomach acid. That's affecting blood sugar. That's affecting your gallbladder and liver, right? If I cut the nerve that goes to your stomach, is it gonna work? It's not. It's impossible. It's gonna die. So if there's pressure on that nerve and it's affecting function, are you gonna be healthy? It's just not possible. That's coming from your spine. Unless we fix that, it's not gonna be better. That's why chiropractic is the first essential of health, because it restores this nerve function. It restores that function, so now the stomach can work. And so now when you do these healthy things, it actually gets better. That's why it's 5 essentials. It's not 2. It's not just eat really good. It's not just take a bunch of supplements. It's not just I'm super fit. It's not I live a toxic-free lifestyle. It's I do all 5. I get adjusted. I do my home care, pay attention to my posture. I minimize my stresses. I eat well. I move on a regular basis, and I avoid toxins. Now you're healthy. That's what the LRQ does. It tells you which of those essentials need to be worked on. And the spine is one of the things that needs to be worked on for your entire life. We said at the beginning, when do you stop working on being healthy? Never. So when do you stop taking care of the system that regulates health? Never. Totally makes sense. I still get adjusted at least every week. I'll do it for the rest of my life. There's never going to be a time where I think I'm good. I don't need to get adjusted anymore. My back's not hurting this week, so I guess I'm just going to skip it. Right? That just doesn't make sense when you understand how things work. And that's why we want to teach you how the body works, so you know how to take care of yourself. The minimum level for any adult is at least every other week, twice a month. That's what the research shows. Longer than twice a week, you're causing degeneration of your spine and your nervous system. You're creating dysfunction and disease. It's the research. It's just what it is. You may feel okay in that 2 weeks. You may feel okay for 6 months, but you're getting worse and less healthy. 100% fact. That's why you take care of it. If you still have members of your family that haven't been checked, why? Too busy? Cost too much? Don't have the time? Don't think it works? If you have friends or family that's suffering with an issue, have you mentioned to them chiropractic care and may help them? Have you offered them an opportunity to come to an event like this? Have you given them a referral card, right? Have you invited them to an event? Have you shared a newsletter or shared an event, right? And maybe some of you have, and a lot of you have referred other people in. A lot of you are here today because someone cared enough about you to refer you to the office. And now your life is better because of it. You have the opportunity to do that to somebody else, right? How awesome is that? Everyone's always wanting to help people in some way. What better way you could help them than help them change their health for the better for the rest of their life? For them and their family. Like, how great is that? Help them avoid the dangers, dysfunction, disease, and a failing medical system. How great would it be to get them their life back? That's the opportunity you have just by simply saying, have you tried chiropractic? And not just any chiropractor, not back crack chiropractic, but taking care of your body, doing the right evaluation, having a plan, sticking with it. That's why we still do evaluations. We still do x-rays, whether you've been here for 6 months or 5 years or 10 years. We still check in. How's it going? What do we need to work on? How can we improve? It's never good enough. It's okay, we're at a level. How do we get better? It's lifetime care. And that's how you truly get healthy. So the first things first, take better care of your spine and nervous system. Don't keep looking for quick fixes in other ways. Look in first, am I taking care of my body? Am I making all my visits? Am I missing visits? Am I falling behind? Am I doing my home care, right? Did I quit because it got too far, or it was too expensive, or I felt better, right? Whatever that may be, do that first. Take care of the system that regulates your body first, and then do other stuff. And that's where we put in the second half. So these things here, many of you would benefit strongly from doing testing. If you have a gut and digestive problem, do the gut microbiome testing, right? This is the way to have a specific plan to fix it, and it will get fixed. If you're having a problem overall in your body, you're not losing weight, your systems aren't working well, you're overstressed, you have some kind of health issue, do the metabolomics test. Find out what's going on, what's out of balance. Let's get a plan to fix it, right? If you want to start working on that right away, which I recommend you do the gut repair if you're having digestive stuff. Get on that, right? Do the gut health bundle. Get these things, and they're all discounted today. 15% off the gut health bundle and the gut repair, right? That saves over $50 off the 90-day gut repair right there. What a great deal to get all that stuff back. So take advantage of these opportunities to be able to get better. We want to see you guys get healthy. That's why we do stuff like this, right? We want to see you live a better life. We want to empower you to take care of you and your family naturally and protect you against so many things that are going on outside there. And you're part of our community and our tribe, and we love having you guys here. And so that's why we offer discounts, we have opportunities, and we have events. So I encourage you, get more engaged. Use the resources, and you will see the improvements. If you need extra help, let us know. Kaylin's our 5 Essentials expert. If you need help with her, schedule a sit down. She does these 5 Essentials consult. We'll sit down and we'll figure out some solutions for you and where you want to go next. right? No matter what it is, there's a way for you to be able to get better. If you're struggling with your chiropractic care, let's figure out a way to get you more often. Let's improve your health care. Let's do whatever we need to do, right? If you're wondering what things you need to get rid of or you want to do more detoxing, we'll find a plan of detox for you and how to take care of those issues. It's all there, just a matter of taking advantage of it. We are becoming more and more of a full 5 essentials office where we can help you with all 5 essentials or give you resources to help in those areas. And that's how we're going to change the community, right? And create a place where people feel good, they feel safe, they feel empowered, and they know they can come and get healthy and they're well taken care of. And we're so blessed to have you here. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today and share these things. And I can't wait to see the benefit it's going to have for your life. Everything we talked about today is available right there in the back. Kaylin is the one who's going to be helping out with anybody that wants to do testing. Gut microbiome testing, metabolomics testing. This